Netflix also reports quarterly results today.
Netflix less in subscription revenue.
And Netflix earnings coming after the
Precious on Netflix.
There's someone on Netflix.
For years, Netflix has been the brand you could count on. It entertained you when you were bored, distracted you when life felt heavy, and somehow always seemed to know what you were in the mood for. But the very company you trusted the most might also be the one manipulating you the deepest. Because Netflix isn't just a streaming service. It isn't just where you go to binge. It is, in reality, one of the most powerful psychological machines ever created. And the people who built it aren't in the business of making shows. They're in the business of shaping behavior. Most people still believe Netflix started as a cute idea. DVDs by mail, no late fees, easy movie nights. But that's the story they want you to remember. The truth is that from its earliest days, Netflix wasn't testing delivery systems. It was testing people. It tracked how often you rented, what genres you stuck with, how long you'd keep something before sending it back. Every failure was just another experiment. And when streaming arrived, the experiment only expanded. Suddenly, Netflix wasn't just seeing what you watched, it was watching how you watched. Did you pause during a tense moment? Did you skip an opening sequence? Did you abandon a show halfway through? All of this was logged. All of this was measured. And all of this was used to design something terrifyingly effective. A platform that doesn't just predict your choices, it creates them. Think about it. You log on, scroll for a few seconds, and click. It feels like you're making the choice. But why is it that the thumbnail seems to shift until one catches your eye? Why does a new show appear at the exact moment you were about to get bored of the old one? It's not coincidence. It's design. Netflix engineers learned that the more options you have, the less likely you are to choose. So they don't give you real choice. They give you the illusion of it. Dozens of shows are technically available, but the algorithm already knows which one you'll pick, because it spent years building a profile of you, and the more you watch, the sharper that profile becomes. You're not choosing the show has already chosen you. At first, this sounds like clever marketing. Who cares if Netflix knows what I want? Isn't that convenient? But here's where it gets darker. If Netflix can nudge your decision on what show to watch, what else can it nudge? The pacing of stories, the themes that dominate your feed, the moods that rise and fall across an entire generation. When you realize that over 250 million people across the world are being guided by the same invisible system, the question becomes unavoidable. Who's really in control here? You or the algorithm? This October, that question exploded into the mainstream. Elon Musk, the world's most influential tech billionaire, told his millions of followers to cancel Netflix immediately. Why? Because of what he called its agenda-driven programming aimed at children. Almost instantly, Netflix's market value dropped by billions. The media covered it as another Musk controversy, but what most people missed was this. Musk wasn't just making a political point. He was striking at Netflix's greatest weakness, because Netflix built its empire on one assumption, that no matter what, people would never leave. The cancel button was easy to click, but the company believed you'd always come back. Musk shattered that illusion in a single post, and it forced the world to ask, if Netflix is strong enough to engineer our habits, why is it suddenly so vulnerable to being abandoned? When Netflix launched streaming in 2007, it was seen as the future of convenience. No more scratched DVDs, no more waiting 3 days for the red envelope. With one click, you had instant entertainment. But here's what most people missed. Netflix wasn't just selling movies, they were training you. Every time you opened the app, Netflix's algorithms studied what you clicked, how long you watched, when you paused, even when you got bored and quit. On the surface, it looked like they were just recommending you better shows. But the deeper truth? Netflix was mapping your attention span like a lab experiment. And this is where the brand's trust really started to shift. In the early days, Netflix promised choice. Their catalog had a strange charm. Quirky indie films, obscure documentaries, foreign dramas. You felt like you were discovering something special. But slowly, Netflix started removing those odd little gems. In their place, Netflix originals, shows engineered not just to entertain you, but to hook you. Think about the release of House of Cards in 2013. It wasn't just another TV show. It was a carefully calculated weapon. Netflix knew, from millions of data points, that people were more likely to binge-watch political thrillers with cliffhanger endings. They poured $100 million into the series, not because they believed in the story, but because the data told them it would keep you glued to the screen. And it worked. Binge-watching exploded. Entire weekends vanished. and Netflix wasn't shy about it. Their CEO bragged in interviews that their biggest competitor wasn't HBO, wasn't Disney, it was sleep. But there's a darker side to this. Netflix blurred the line between choice and compulsion, and when a brand crosses that line, the trust you thought you had in them starts to look a lot like manipulation. Even their pricing strategy shows this. At first, Netflix was dirt cheap, almost too cheap. They weren't making much profit, but they were buying something far more valuable than money: dependence. Once they had you, and once competitors like Blockbuster were wiped off the map, prices began to creep upward. And here's the twist: people still pay, because Netflix knows that once your evenings, your family rituals, your sense of what's trending are built around their service, walking away feels impossible. But recently, that illusion of invincibility has started to crack. In October 2025, Elon Musk publicly called out Netflix, urging people to cancel their subscriptions. His criticism wasn't just about price hikes, it was about the way Netflix shapes culture, narrows choices, and in his words, turns people into passive consumers instead of active creators. Suddenly, Netflix, the brand that once represented innovation, was being painted as the villain. And the reaction online was massive. Some users defended the company, others admitted Musk had a point. For the first time in years, cracks were showing in Netflix's carefully managed image. But this isn't the first time the brand has faced backlash, and each time they do, they use the same strategy: turn criticism into fuel. The question is, can they keep pulling it off? Because behind the comforting red logo, Netflix has been hiding secrets even darker than Musk's accusations. For years, Netflix sold itself as the underdog, the rebel startup that outsmarted Blockbuster, the scrappy innovator fighting Hollywood giants. But today, Netflix isn't just another player in entertainment. It is entertainment. And when one company has that much influence, the question isn't just what you're watching, it's what you're not allowed to see. Because Netflix doesn't just give you content, it decides what gets made, what gets promoted, and, just as importantly, what disappears. Behind the scenes, their recommendation engine isn't neutral, it's a filter. Entire genres vanish if the algorithm deems them unprofitable. Stories that don't fit the Netflix formula get buried. Independent filmmakers complain their work gets lost in a sea of glossy originals. You might think you're making a free choice, but in reality, you're being guided down a hallway with only certain doors unlocked. And Netflix's power goes beyond what you watch. It's how you watch. Remember when TV shows released one episode per week? That pacing gave you time to process, discuss, anticipate. Netflix destroyed that model on purpose. By dropping entire seasons at once, they conditioned audiences to consume rapidly, without pause or reflection. But this always-on binge model comes with consequences. Psychologists warn about dopamine burnout, when your brain's reward system is pushed so hard it goes numb. Ironically, the shows designed to entertain may leave us restless, unmotivated, and hooked on the next hit. Netflix doesn't just compete with sleep, they reshape your relationship with rest, focus, and attention itself, and the economics make it darker. For years, Netflix burned billions in debt to flood the market with content. The logic was simple: dominate fast enough, then raise prices without losing customers. And that's exactly what happened. What started as a $7 subscription has ballooned into one of the priciest streaming services, with ads now creeping into basic plans. But here's the part most people don't realize. Netflix isn't just raising prices because of inflation. They're raising prices because they have to. If the machine slows down, investors panic, stock prices tumble, and the illusion of invincibility cracks. That's why Elon Musk's recent call to cancel Netflix subscriptions in October 2025 hit so hard. Not because Musk controls the narrative, but because he said out loud what millions of people were already feeling. Netflix is no longer the scrappy innovator, it's the establishment. And when people start questioning whether the brand they trust is actually manipulating them, that trust can evaporate fast. Netflix has always thrived in chaos. Every time their reputation takes a hit, they pivot. When Hollywood ignored them, they made their own shows. When competitors launched, they doubled down on originals. When critics accused them of manipulation, they framed it as giving people what they want. The real dark truth isn't just that Netflix manipulates culture, attention, and economics. It's that they've trained us to accept it. We laugh at the memes about binge watching, joke about losing weekends, shrug at the price hikes, and in doing so, we let Netflix blur the line between habit and control. Every time you press play, you're not just watching entertainment, you're feeding a machine that decides what the world sees, what the world ignores, and how much of your life you'll trade in exchange for the next episode. The dark truth behind the brand you trust isn't that Netflix lied to you, it's that they told you the truth all along, and you didn't realize how much it would cost.